Fire damage is considered a primary peril. So, depending on what insurance policy you have, fire insurance should be the one consistent throughout them. It's very unusual to have any type of property insurance policy, whether it be homeowners, condominium owners, renters, homeowners associations, all of those, without having fire coverage as the primary peril. The only exception would be a specific policy where fire is excluded, and that's because it's being obtained somewhere else. What I tell everyone is if they're at the place where they've evacuated, put the claim in. Whether they know if there's a total loss, a partial loss, smoke damage, whatever it is, put the claim in. Now, people will ask us all the time, well, is this going to come back? I don't know if I want to have any type of claim on my record and things like that. And that's good advice typically. But when it comes to catastrophe losses like this, the insurance industry does not, and this is important, does not rate people based on catastrophe claims. So we don't have to worry about someone coming back to us and saying, oh, you had a fire loss from the Palisades fire, for example. That's not something that's within a consumer's control. So that's not going to be something that's underwritten on an individual basis. Usually right away, most homeowners insurance policies have a provision to pay for your expenses while you move out. It will pay for you to move somewhere. It will pay for you to even eat things that you would normally do at home. You don't have a kitchen, you have to eat. They'll pay for that. So the most important thing to do is, again, file the claim, start keeping your receipts, and find a place to go. I know that, for example, in the Palisades, people were trying to find places to stay, and there was a lot of price gouging that was going on. And there are some task forces that the Department of Insurance is putting out there to try and stop that. People are legally only allowed to charge 10% more than what they were charging for rent prior to this type of a loss. And we were seeing just in our office 800-900 times what they were charging before. And the insurance companies are paying it because they have to help get people in their homes. But that's going to come back to haunt us in premiums at some point. Some do, some don't, but I think what's happening is, it's very easy to see. You can go on to their website and you can see lists, for example, on the rental sites of what a property is listed for at what date, and you can see it go from $4,000 a month to $25,000 a month, right, on January 9th, right after the fire started. So it's not hard to see this. I know that we're telling people to report this, but you're sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place, because if you try and play hardball with the landlord, the chances are you might not get that space. So at the same time, you want to do the right thing and report it so they'll stop doing that. You also don't want to shoot yourself in the foot and be that guy who doesn't end up being able to get a place to stay. There's always a place for public adjusters and for law firms and experts like that. We're just not there yet. And like I said, unless you have already, and I haven't seen any evidence of it yet, gotten to a place where you're told no. I'm not saying you have an adjuster that might have spoken out of turn or just said something stupid, because look, they're working crazy hours too. They're being brought in from all over the country as well. Unless you are told something specifically in writing and they're saying no, and you've gone to the insurance company to appeal it, you've called your agent, you've asked for a supervisor, you've done sort of those basic things, then I don't think that it makes a lot of sense at this stage to be looking to bring on any type of additional drains on the funds. Because as we started out by saying, are people going to have enough coverage to rebuild? Well, all of those places end up taking from the recovery amount, right? So if we go under the assumption that we are going to get what our policy has, then we're better off to handle that ourselves unless we're not getting those things. And again, it's just so soon. We still have not even reached 100% containment on any of these fires. So I think I understand the fear. I understand. I just don't want to deal with this. I'll just have someone else deal with it. Just remember that there's a cost that's associated with that. And maybe just wait until and if that becomes necessary versus letting that be the default go-to. One of the things that I have heard, unfortunately, are some people were saying, well, I don't want to just have fire insurance. If I can't have everything, I'll have nothing. And that's all right. That's a choice to make. The problem is that if they have a loan on their house, and most people do, then they would get forced insurance from their lender. And the problem with that is that's not going to rebuild the home. All forced insurance does when a lender does that is pay off the mortgage to the bank. It doesn't rebuild your home, and you're paying for that. So unfortunately, I think some people that thought, well, my bank will take care of it, or my bank will find something and put forced insurance, that was actually a fallback for property insurance, when in fact all it did was create a large bill that you have to pay that gets tacked onto your mortgage, and just protect the bank from the mortgage amount that they have due. I think the most important thing first is to, and it's easier to say than done. I can actually say this because I've been evacuated now twice. Don't panic until it's time to panic. I get a lot of calls from people that are concerned that their carrier won't pay them, or that there won't be enough money, or they're going to have other miscellaneous potential traumas. And I understand the fear. It'd be odd to not be afraid right now, but try to control that, because so far there's no reason to have that level of concern. I haven't seen anything. And again, I'm very involved with the carriers and their involvement in the community. I've talked to legislators to see what their take on this is. We're really involved. I haven't seen anything that would give me pause where I'm thinking, oh boy, this might be a problem for people getting their money. I'm just not seeing it. So my first piece of advice would be, worry when it's time to worry. And it's not time right now. It might not be, but you don't have to have that level of worry. And number two, and this might not be a huge comfort, but if you do have an insurance policy, now's the go time. So be sure you stay in touch with your carrier, with your adjuster, document everything. It keeps everybody on the same page, and be sure that you advocate for yourself, because remember, the carrier is working with you, and by law and by policy, they have to act with the utmost good faith. It's actually in the policy. So go under that assumption and not an adversarial form, and work with your company, work with the adjuster, because everybody wants the same thing, and that's to get you back in your home.